Week 17 of the NBA 2021-22 season was trade week, and it was a busy one. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review, Trade Edition.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money, you can cash it. For news on LA Hoops, come over to Beach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming soon on air. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the Aztec fans.
This is the show where we go coast to coast to talk to fans of the teams that made the biggest trades. Tonight, I'm excited to talk to Jack. He runs a very good LA Clippers Twitter account. JP to talk New Orleans Pelicans. Tom to talk Sacramento Kings. Akeem Evans to talk Philadelphia 76ers. And Brandon Wynn to talk Washington Wizards. Also be joined from time to time by Steve Perciello and Isaac Edelman of our partner site FL Teams as we break down one of the wildest NBA trade seasons ever. The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code TBPN and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TBPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56 and sponsor of Run It Back, NBA Week in Review. We're going to drop the pin in Los Angeles and bring in Jack. I'm excited to talk to Jack. I'm excited to talk Los Angeles Clippers basketball. I started all this after a love of writing, covering the Clippers for Bleacher Report a few years back. And it's always, we talked a little bit about the Clippers and how they changed, the mentality, the mindset of what the franchise was into what it is today. They made their trade a little earlier than the others that we talked about. They traded for Norman Powell, Robert Covington, for Justice Winslow, Eric Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick. They also moved Serge for a couple of players that I initially didn't think were going to see any time with the Clippers. Now they might. Let's go ahead and talk to Jack about that. Jack, welcome. Sorry we're getting started a little bit late, but I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad to talk Clippers basketball with you. What do you like about this trade for LA?
Yeah, no worries. I'm happy to be on. Thanks for letting me come on. And I really like the trade because Norman Powell is still under contract for a few more years.
Right.
And he's not making a whole lot of money. He's a really talented player. And so it's not like, he's on contract for like a year, 2 years. Robert Covington, he's going to be a free agent in the summer, so I'm not sure what the Clippers will do. He's been playing well, so we may still re-sign him. But Norman Powell's on contract for the next few years, so he'll still be with Kawhi and PG under contract. And he's been playing well so far. When the trade happened, most Clipper fans were really, really excited about it. But at the end of the day, you still got to see them play. It's like an idea is great, but you got to actually see it on the court. And so far, Norman Powell has been great on the court. His debut game against the Bucks, he had 28 points. So I'm just really excited for Kawhi and PG to come back to pair with him. Obviously, they're both hurt right now. So it's not like we're really championship contenders without them, as there are superstars. But he's been playing great. It's going to be great because he's a great driver, athletic finisher, which the Clippers have been lacking. And he's also a great three-point shooter. And that's a great fit around Kawhi and PG. We saw it in the playoffs last year that they're great with shooters around them. But I think the Clippers also noticed, the front office notices that, we're kind of lacking that guy who can get to the rim with ease. So he could really be like our third best player on the team in the coming years. He's really talented. He won the championship with Kawhi in Toronto. So Clipper fans are really excited for him. And then, of course, Rocco, a great wing, can play the small ball five, can shoot, defend, finish around the rim, he can rebound. So we'll see what the Clippers do with that this summer. They got some pieces that can move around. So, but yeah, like I said, I feel like this is definitely a next year move, and Norman Powell is the focus with this trade.
You know, it was funny watching Eric Bledsoe play. You know, he started out with the Clippers, then he moved, and then he came back. And the player he became his second go around with the Clippers, I saw him attack the basket a lot. And he's, I mean, he's a strong dude, but he would go in with abandon. He'd make these crazy layups, and I really like that style of play from him. The thing is, Eric Bledsoe, I think I'm taller than Eric Bledsoe. No offense to Eric Bledsoe. He's in the NBA. I'm not. But then I saw Norman Powell, and he does the same kind of thing. You mentioned it. He attacks the rim. He went into Giannis's body twice and got layups. You don't do that on Antetokounmpo. I did not expect that. I thought Norman Powell was really just a shooter. He's so much more than that. I'm concerned a little bit about, and listen, it's a minor little bit, about Justice Winslow. I thought he was coming into his own after a really rough start with the Clippers. He was a key component. You know, we talk about the Clippers with their 20-point comebacks, 10-point comebacks, 30-point comebacks. Justice Winslow had a lot to do with all of them. He was such a good player. He never made mistakes. Not a shooter, admittedly, but he was just a really smart basketball player. And he's the kind of player I see in every championship team. Every championship team has a player like that. Alex Caruso cut, Michael Cooper going back to the 80s, Justice Winslow. I think that's, you know, kind of, they're all different players, but I'm talking gritty guys who just don't make mistakes. I mean, it's not fair because I do think, personally, I want your opinion, obviously, if the Clippers won the trade. But losing Justice Winslow, I think, is going to hurt a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it sucks to see Justice go because, like you said, he had literally just been coming into his own. You know, he found some minutes with all the guys out. He was helping with a lot of the comebacks. And Blazers fans already love him. They were tweeting tonight how much they love it. And he helped them beat LeBron and the Lakers the other night. So, yeah, I'm going to miss him for sure, and Bledsoe. But, yeah, like you said, I think it does come down to just Bledsoe and Winslow's inconsistent shooting and not really being able to shoot the ball. I feel like the Clippers were like, they're great. They're good to have, good guys. But with Kawhi and PG next year, we really want, you know, guys that we can trust from the 3-point line. So I feel like that was a big part of it. Winslow is a great driver, defender. He can pass it really well. So yeah, it's gonna suck to see him go. I'm gonna miss the Winslow words of wisdom every morning. He posts some cool quotes on his story, so I'm gonna miss that too. Yeah, it does suck to see him go.
I didn't even know about that. So shoot.
Yeah, they're great. They're sometimes I'll look at them and be like, I'm gonna keep that in mind today. Whenever he posts them.
Outstanding. You know, I wrote about the anatomy of the trade. We did a series of articles on the Peach Basket. I wrote about this Clippers trade. And the first thing that really stuck out to me, and you started with this, is Norman Powell is signed for 4 years. He will be at the Intuit Dome with Kawhi, with PG. You know, barring any trade or injury, you know, hopefully he should be there. His contract goes beyond, you know, when we tip off Intuit Dome, I think in 24, 25, if I'm not mistaken. And that's pretty exciting. Like you said, oftentimes these trades, you get somebody with an expiring contract, somebody that you've got to court next year. That's not the case. Norman Powell is here for a while. And yeah, he's looked really good. Let's talk a little bit about the other trade, which I alluded to, but I didn't really go into detail. Serge Ibaka to the Bucks, 4-team trade that netted the Clippers, Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, who I really liked when he was with the Celtics. When I heard about the trade, number one, I was really happy for Serge. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to chase a ring in Milwaukee. I felt bad for his time in LA because he was hurt. He didn't get to be who he was. He wasn't in spots, but he just wasn't. Hartenstein has come up and just been phenomenal. I call him Hustlestein. He's just fun to watch. So yeah, this trade made a lot of sense. I did not think Rodney Hood and Ojeleye were long for the Clippers, but now it looks like they're going to get some playing time. What do you think about that trade? What do you think about Serge's time with the Clippers?
Yeah, I feel like this one Clipper fans weren't as ecstatic about as the Norman Powell trade. Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, they'll also be free agents in the summer. So again, not too sure what the Clippers will do with them come summertime, but we'll see. Yeah, Rodney Hood, he had a good stint with Portland, and then with the Bucks, he was all right. And then Semi Ojeleye wasn't doing too great with the Bucks, but hey, Ty Lue's a mastermind. When he gets these guys that teams maybe can't really find, like he'll figure out a role for them, figure out where to play them. And of course, with the injuries the Clippers have, they'll definitely find some minutes. And yeah, we saved some money on the deal. We get off Ibaka's contract, which would end after this year. And it does suck because Ibaka was that big signing after the bubble that was like going to be our stretch big who could defend the rim. But I feel like a big part of it after he got injured, it was really, he couldn't find, he couldn't really find his game back. It's hard to find minutes, hard for him to get it, especially with Hartenstein playing so well. And then also a big part of it was Nico Batum just being a great small ball 5 for us. I feel like the Clippers thought, oh, Ibaka's going to be that. But then Nico Batum was just amazing in the playoffs as a small ball 5 he could shoot the 3, he could defend wings, defend the rim. So they saw that and they were like, yeah, Ibaka, it's kind of hard for you to find a role with this team now. And yeah, especially with Hartenstein playing really well. So yeah, I like it. Save some money, get us a couple extra wings that could maybe find a spot on the team. So yeah, I think it was another good move.
Yeah. I got to say, I was touting Justice Winslow, and that's the kind of player you see in championship teams. Nico is that kind of player too, right? Nico's a guy you trust him to make the right shot, to make the right play. He does not make mistakes. He's been so good. It's really fun watching him. Let me ask you just kind of a broad question then, about either one of these trades. Obviously, there's a lot to like. Is there anything you don't like about this trade? Either one, the one that brought in Powell and Covington, or the one that sent Serge back?
Yeah, the Ibaka one, I was wondering maybe if we could have somehow snagged a backup point guard with Ibaka. Of course, teams kind of saw he wasn't the same self, and it is an expiring deal. But I was thinking maybe we could get a bit more value because we do have a bunch of wings now, so that we kind of got to find a spot for. So I was kind of hoping maybe we could get a pick out of it, or not a pick, a backup point guard out of it after we had traded Bledsoe. But I think we'll see what will happen in the buyout market. And then maybe because Dragic just came out, he's probably going to be bought out, and then Clippers are a team that's interested. So I think they're going to focus on that for the backup point guard. But yeah, the Norman Powell Rocco trade, I think I definitely like better just because it's like Clippers seem to be the clear winner, whereas a lot of people think the Bucks are the winner with Ibaka. So that one's more of just kind of an average trade, whereas the Norman Powell, Robert Covington trade, that's just that feels like a huge win for the Clippers.
Yeah. No, undeniably. When Serge was moved, I thought it was the precursor to another move. It just felt that way, right? Yeah, because they cleared up some cash. I thought, okay, they've got some spots available now. They're going to do something else. And I can't help but think that they wanted to. We know that the Clippers historically, this franchise recently, they keep stuff close to the vest. You can't trust any rumor that says anything about the Clippers. But it sure smelled like that. It smelled like they wanted something else, and maybe they just couldn't make it happen. Is that what you thought too?
Yeah, I feel like our front office usually, like, if they're not going to win the trade, they're not going to just take a risk with it. Like, they're going to be really certain about the trade. So if they don't make a move, then clearly they didn't feel a trade was worth it or worth the risk that it was going to be. But I did also think that something else was coming because it happened earlier in the trade deadline day. Like, it happened like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. or something. So I was like, oh, they still got some hours to work something, but nothing ended up happening. But I think the buyout market, I do think we'll make a move in the buyout market maybe.
Yeah, I think Dragic is a great fit, obviously, but I know that he's been tied to the Mavericks. The Mavericks are interested in him as well. There's going to be a lot of teams. I mean, that's a great player. You still got some left in the tank, so that's going to be tough. Outstanding. Let me we got a little bit of time. I want to ask you this because I'm curious. I started covering the Clippers before Blake Griffin was drafted. Bleacher Report back then had team pages. They let you pick who you wanted to cover. So I became the feature columnist for the Clippers. Yeah, BR was awesome.
That's great.
15 years ago. They're not. They're good. They're not awesome. I shouldn't say anymore.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
I had a great time at BR. And but back then the Clippers were not a good basketball team. They weren't a good franchise. They had horrible ownership, horrible executive team. They made bad mistakes, trades, drafts, everything you can imagine. Today, they're not that. And what is exciting to me, having watched that transition, is to see people now come up and all they know are the Clippers as an elite franchise. I love that. And so I'm curious, people that don't know about Clippers and the history, they always think of the Clippers as, living in the shadow of Los Angeles Lakers. And I mean, 17 championships is going to do that. But I'm curious to get your thoughts. I'm not going to, guess your age or anything like that, but I'm assuming you are younger than me.
I'm 21 years old. 21
there you go.
As of a few weeks ago. So
congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Belated. So I'm just, for me, when I think of the Clippers, I always revert back to what they were. And I do that appreciating how far they've come. When you do that and you look at the Lakers, do you look at the Lakers as just another basketball team, or is there some kind of, because I follow you on Twitter, and I know that you comment some about the Lakers, and most Clipper fans do. So what is that relationship like with LA sharing staples for you?
Oh man, it's tough because like you said, like growing up, most people choose to be Laker fans. So when I was that kid playing basketball, with my friends at recess, and everyone's Laker fans. I'm like the one Clipper fan there. And so Laker fans always were like, why are you a Clipper fan? And they'd get on you. They'd roast the Clippers for not having championships and all that stuff. So I feel like it started young, as kids, we kind of, we just like to roast each other. So Laker fans started to, get on the Clippers. So then the Clipper fans, we'd start to get on the Laker fans, and it just kind of sticks that way. But yeah, I try. I feel like it was during when the Clippers got Kawhi and PG and the Lakers got Anthony Davis. Like that year, that was like a war zone. That was really when it just skyrocketed. Because before that, I would watch Lakers and Clippers games, and I wouldn't really like care if the Lakers won or lost. That would even be because I was always a big LeBron fan. So when he came to the Lakers, I was like, oh, I like LeBron, but I don't really want the Lakers to win. So it was kind of a weird thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think when Kawhi and PG and then AD went to the Lakers that same year, that really skyrocketed it to like another level.
It's funny because for a long time, the Lakers were better than the Clippers, no doubt. Over the last 10 years, the Clippers have been better than the Lakers. And I don't care. You could argue that all you want. It's scoreboard. The Clippers have been better than the Lakers. The Lakers have not won a season series for 10 years. Scoreboard. That's it. The Clippers have been better. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It's never been competitive. Over the last couple of years, it's been pretty competitive. What I'm waiting for is a playoff matchup between these two teams. I think that's going to be
a play-in matchup.
Right. I heard that coming up a little bit.
I think it could happen. I think it's going to happen.
It could, which is a great segue. I was gonna leave you with this, or at least certainly this was one question I was gonna ask you. What do you think the Clippers' ceiling is now? And let's assume no Kawhi this season.
Okay.
Although, it could happen. Let's assume no PG, although I think PG will come back. Let's just start without those two guys. The team is constructed right now. Are they a play-in team, or do you think they make it to the playoffs and avoid the play-in? What do you think?
I think it's looking like it's pretty set that we're going to be a playing team. We're kind of nearing towards that end of the year. It's like it's creeping up on us, and it would be we would have to go on a crazy run to really get into that 6th seed. So I think play-in. I don't think we're going to drop out of the play-in because that's also like we would have to lose like every single game. So I think we're just going to be in that play-in mix. Hopefully we can get like a 7th, 8th seed, and be in the play-in tournament. And then as far as the ceiling, I think we could definitely make the playoffs and win a play-in because, like we said about the play-in, like it's not a playoff series. We don't have to win a series without Kawhi and PG. It's one. You just got to win one game,
right?
And I'm putting my trust in Ty Lue, even without Kawhi and PG. Ty Lue in one game. That's gonna be fun. If it's against the Lakers too, at the Crypt, that'll be really really fun. So I do think we can win the play-in game and get into that playoffs.
All right, I'm putting you on the spot then. Playing Clippers at 8, they match up against the Lakers in the one and done game. Obviously, it's a home game for both of them at the Crypt. Who wins the game? Who advances?
Oh, the Clippers! Come on now. Of course, I'm rolling with the Clippers.
You brought it up. Ty Lue, number 1. The Clippers history, number 2. And of course, Laker fans, and I'll put on my Laker hat for a minute. I'll do it. They'll say, listen, you're not going to beat LeBron in a one and done game. You're not going to do it.
Yeah, it'll be close.
But wouldn't that, that would just turn LA on its heel, man. I would love that.
Yeah.
I really want a playoff, I want a series. I want to see 4 games. I want somebody to come out of that a winner, right? A one and done, you're still going to get a lot of people, just poo-pooing the win, even if the Clippers, were to win.
Exactly.
You got to have a real playoff tournament, or a real playoff matchup, a series between these two teams. So I can't get away from the LA versus LA matchup. To me, it's just so intriguing.
It is. It really is.
I'm excited about Intuit. I'm excited about the next few years. Let me leave you with this, and forgive me for asking you a Lakers question. I look at the Clippers in 2 years, and I see Kawhi, Paul George, Norman Powell. That's a phenomenal core. I look at the Lakers in 3 years. I don't know. I mean, LeBron is done. I think AD, that would probably be right around his last season. And I look at the Lakers, and I look at a team that's really handcuffed, right? Because they've got all of this money into these 3 players. They can't make a lot of moves. When LeBron does go, assuming he goes wherever Bronny, gets drafted, assuming Bronny gets drafted, who knows where LeBron's going to end up? And then you're building around AD. Where do you see, and I know I'm asking a Clipper fan, but where do you see the future of the Los Angeles Lakers, when they get Staples all to themselves? Do you think that this team has a plan outside of LeBron or not?
Yeah, I still try to look at the Lakers in like an unbiased way. Sometimes it's difficult being a Clipper fan, but I still try to okay, let's just be unbiased. Let's look at what they're doing. And I mean, they are the Lakers, so they're going to be able to always make a move at free agents. They don't really have tons of draft picks coming up, so that's going to be tough to get young players. Of course, Austin Reeves looks good, but they're not going to get a ton of young players, so it's going to be primarily through free agency. I think, like we said, LeBron possibly going to Bronny's team wherever he's drafted, and then AD. I mean, that's going to be a tough one. I wonder what he's going to do. That's a hard one to tell. And then Westbrook, I think they're probably going to try to trade him. You would think in the offseason, even though it's a tough contract to trade, but they're going to try. Yeah, I do think the Clippers will be in a better spot. Yeah, like you said, Kawhi and PG locked up long term. Even Norman Powell locked up long term.
Yep.
And they're just showing that they're a legit. Like the front offices ran really well. The organization,
right?
People love the owner.
Yep.
People love Ty Lue now. I feel like they're gonna want to come to the Clippers, maybe even over the Lakers in a couple years, especially to see where we're at compared to them. So, I think I'll take the Clippers over the Lakers in a few years, but. Yeah, they are the Lakers, so free agents are going to come. I think that's going to be their primary way. Is instead of the draft, they're just going to try to get the stars in free agency.
Right. Yeah, it's been the MO, and it's worked pretty well for them. It's exciting to me, though, to see these two franchises that were just so polar opposites. Now, for a while, right, and I'm talking on court, they were pretty even. But then, and you said this, right? When you look at the totality of the franchise, I'm talking, the players, the coaches, the front office, the ownership, everything. The Clippers are better, and I think anybody who doesn't look at it with purple and gold sunglasses can see that the Clippers right now are a better franchise. And the future looks brighter, but we'll see, man. You never know. The Lakers are the Lakers, and you never know what's gonna happen to them. Always great to talk Clippers basketball. I'm excited for this trade. I'm excited to see what the Clippers do this season. Let me leave you with this, and then we'll finish up, and we're gonna talk New Orleans Pelicans next, which is pretty exciting. And I think you alluded to this too. This trade was really more about next season than it was necessarily about this season, right? Because again, the team right now is good, but I think their ceiling is a play-in, like you said, and I wouldn't disagree with you. They're 4 games back of the 6th seed, so possible, but maybe not probable. Do you think this trade was made with an eye towards the Intuit Dome, with an eye towards that phenomenal big 3 of Kawhi, PG, and Norman Powell?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a next year trade. I feel like the Clippers are accepting that it's going to be tough to really get, Kawhi and PG back, and then also getting some runs in to get them back into game shape, by the end of this year, and just be ready to be championship contenders. Like that's just not a reasonable thing to ask of them. But yeah, I think it definitely will be for next year. and they didn't want to just get a really great player, but whose contract ends in this summer, and then they have no idea what's going to happen. So they definitely were looking at players. And apparently Portland even called the Clippers, where the Clippers didn't really have to go aggressive after Portland for it, but it was more Portland calling the Clippers and trying to offer this. So Clippers were like, oh yeah, we'll happily take Norman Powell off your hands.
Can you imagine taking that call? Yeah, we'll do that. That's no problem.
I'm pretty sure that happened with the Zubats trade too. Magic Johnson, when he was the GM, they just called him, and the Clippers were like, oh, we'll absolutely take that.
For Muscala, I'll never forget, and I'll never forget Magic saying, "What because Zubats didn't have a great playoffs that season. I think he went 5-5, and Magic said, "See, like that justified his trade."
Oh man, I remember that.
Yeah,
not like we were playing a Golden State Warriors dynasty team or anything.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Outstanding. All right, man. Great, fun. I feel like I know you because I do follow you, but it's the first time we've ever talked, first time I've ever seen you. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Absolutely follow Jack at Jack Clippers. We're going to end our show, our cross country show, talking to New Orleans Pelicans correspondent next. Jack, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was great. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA Hoops, come over to Peach Basket.